Hey guys, this is Aiman and this is my recap for today. Today I'm going to talk about today I'm going to talk one more time about how I trade. And I think one recap is not enough on this thing, and some people told me that they love when I do similar recaps every time. And yeah, the more you see it, the easier it will become for you to do it in the future. So yeah, I'm going to talk about some stocks which I like for a trend and how I trade them depending on the gap. So yeah, the first thing I'm doing before catching or trying to determine to which direction I trade the stock to is looking at the direction of the gap and the direction of the overall daily chart. Overall, I see that the stock or the daily chart on CCL is weak, and I see that it gapped down. Looking at the gap down, I automatically get my bias that if I want to trade this thing to the short side, it will be a trend trade. It doesn't mean that I will not trade it to the long side. I might trade it to the long side, and if I will trade it to the long side, it will be only a scalp, not trend. So I'll not be adding heavily to this thing. Looking at the 15-minute chart on this thing, you could see that it is down trending. It's below VWAP, below the moving average, below everything. So yeah, I like this thing to the short side. Looking at the 5-minute chart, you can see the pre-market level right here. We're breaking that pre-market level. Amazing. I love breaking the pre-market. Take it to the short side. At the low of the pre-market, then trade this thing to the short side. 1-minute chart and 2-minute chart, it's an opening range breakout. So I started trading this thing with an opening range breakout pattern. Drop down, pull back, came back down, a breakdown, right? 5-minute opening range breakdown pattern. Taking it to the short side, this was the pre-market low, this was the low of the day at that time. Taking it to the short side, and remember guys, if I get in to the short side within the range, so let's say I take it to the short side there, my stop loss will be the high of the range. Taking it at the breakout, my stop loss is half of the range. Now I take it to the short side, I have my stop loss, and I start partialing all the way down. Now we go for the trend on the 5-minute chart. So look at this. At this stage, you see that it's just clearly dropping on the 5-minute chart. I will not be adding on the second candle or the third consecutive 5-minute candle, because I know that after 3 consecutive 5-minute candles, stocks tend to do a pullback. And before adding, I want to see at least a new 5-minute high. There it is, a new 5-minute high. Now I'm interested in adding. The moment I see a good pattern to add, I added here because we had the reverse ABCD pattern on the 1-minute chart. I add, and then I add one more time because we're having a new 5-minute low. We're having a reverse ABCD pattern. Now, if you watch my ABCD pattern webinar, you will remember that I told you stocks tend to pull back to the 9 moving average on the 5-minute chart a lot of times. The 9 moving average is an average. Stocks could get closer to the 9, bounce out of it on a trend. They could touch it and trend. They could break a little bit above it and trend. One of the 3 things, right? When I added here, I didn't put my stop loss at a new high because I know how the stocks behave and that they could still even break the 9 a little bit and then continue going lower. And I didn't want to sacrifice this good entry. This good entry gave me a really good average, which will help me survive any pullback right there, right? If it's trending. So I added and I moved my stop loss to 1450, around 1450 for my stop loss. If it's breaking out, I'm out of the trade. If it's holding, I will add and I'll move my average. Now you will see that we're having sort of a range down here. It didn't get me stopped out. Actually, it was 2 pennies away from getting stopped out. Now we're starting to form a range which it held 15 minutes. It's breaking that range, and at the same time we're having a reverse ABCD pattern. I'm adding to my position, stop loss at the half of the range, and then I am just partialing all the way down. Another reverse ABCD pattern. I add on a new 5-minute low, and I told you guys that stocks could make a pullback to the 9 on the 5, but in this case I wasn't interested in the 9 on the 5. I saw a clear support area right there, and I see that stocks after breakout they retest and then continue. With the retest, it's similar to that. They either retest and bounce, they get closer and bounce, they break and they continue, right? So I gave my stop loss a little bit above the range or a little bit inside the range. I added here, but I didn't put my stop loss up here. I moved my stop loss inside the range, and then I just partialed all the way down. Last exit based on the 15-minute chart. You see that on the 15-minute chart, double hammers at the low, new 15-minute high right there. 5-minute chart, double bottom, new high. This thing could be reversing, so I am just simply bailing on this trade. WKHS, similar trade setup. You see it, gap down on the daily chart. Short is a trend, long is a scalp. 1-minute chart, drop down, right? Consolidating in a range. Now here my stop loss wasn't half of the range. My entry is within the range. Stop loss at the high of the range, because I didn't enter at the breakout. Now we're breaking out. You see previous support, after a break of the range, what could happen? A retest could happen. So it's breaking down, pulling back. I recognize this is a retest, previous resistance is a support. I am adding to my position and moving my stop loss to the level which it bounced from, partialing all the way down. We're forming a descending triangle, another breakout pattern, adding to my position and partialing all the way down. Now we're starting a trend. I go to the 5-minute chart, right? Drop down, pull back, reverse BCD pattern. Look at this. After this ad right here, with my average somewhere up here, I didn't exit on this pullback. This ad was so small because I knew that after a huge drop, stocks could pull back to the 9 on the 5. So I put my stop loss a little bit above it just to survive the pullback. Now that I see it's making a reverse BCD pattern, I add to my position and I partial at the lows. Now we're forming a descending triangle. One touch, second touch, third touch. One touch, second touch, third touch, breakout pattern. Once it's breaking out, I'm taking it to the short side, stop loss at the half, over partial. Why is that? Because I added so heavily. This is a descending triangle, this is a breakout pattern. After third touch, so likely to get to break down. Stop loss could be so tight at the breakouts on the descending triangle, so I added so much, decreasing my average all the way down here. Partial, 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 partial. Daily level, all out. Why did I exit all the way down there? Daily chart. You see this? This is the daily chart. This is the level I'm mixing all out. It's also coinciding with 2250 round number. I could have held to 22, but look at the average true range. Now the average true range comes into importance, and I did talk about the average true range yesterday on my recap. If you didn't watch it, make sure you watch it because it's really helpful. I noticed that WKHS already did a move bigger than the average true range. I can't really hope that it will go way more down there, especially that it's not in play. It's stuck in a range with the daily chart. I didn't want to hold for the rest of my position all the way to break even, especially that break even is $1.50 away. You don't want to give all the profits back, right? So just had to bail all out on this thing. Traded 2 more stocks. Apple, 1 winner, 1 loser. And I traded MDGS for losers, being honest about it. But unfortunately, we are running out of time. Let's take a look at MDGS, the worst trade, so that you don't tell me, hey man, you're showing only your winners. You don't show your losers. You never have a loser. I do have losers. I share them whenever I have them, right guys? But I try to keep the losers small and the winners big. I broke my rule here on this long. Daily chart gap up, I want to hold it for a trend. It did whatever I wanted it to do, but my bad thing is my stop loss. Taking it to the long side, stop loss should have been the level it bounced from. If I respected my rules, I would never have been stopped out and I would have caught that move. Tight stop loss stopped out, long ad, tight stop loss stopped out, long, tight stop loss stopped out, long, tight stop loss stopped out. I deserve this loss 100%. So yeah. That's it for today, guys. If you have any questions, make sure to email me, aiman@beerbletraders.com. Make sure to follow me on Twitter @aimanbbt if you want to see me breaking out my setups. Have a good day, and yeah, talk to you in the chat room. Bye bye.